I want to talk about a remarkable phenomenon that is going on in Asia and Africa, namely the large scale conversion of Muslims to Christianity. Historically, this is completely unprecedented. Historically, it's very difficult, and very few people have converted out of Islam. There are a couple of exceptions to that rule, but in general, well, we know that Islam doesn't like people to convert out. In fact, if you think of the old line about the Hotel California, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. That applies to Islam. You can't leave. And you can't leave to become an atheist, and you can't leave to become a member of another religion. In both cases, it's considered not just losing your faith, but apostasy, betraying the Muslim people. And it's been punishable by imprisonment or beatings, or in some cases, even death. Remember, for example, the fatwa that was put on Salman Rushdie, the writer, because he was seen as a sort of apostate to Islam. So this strategy of making it difficult, if not impossible, to convert out has historically stopped Muslims from doing it. And there, as I say, are a few exceptions to this rule. In 16th century Spain, once Catholic monarchs got a hold of Spain, they established preferential treatment for Catholics, and they essentially expelled the Moors, the Muslims, from Spain. Now, there were some Muslims at that time who converted to Christianity in order to be able to stay in Spain, but that's an historical exception. Even as late as the 1980s, a missionary wrote a book called 10 Muslims Meet Christ. And while the book focused on 10 Muslim converts, it was very clear from the book itself that this is extremely rare. It's really hard to get a Muslim convert. So, like, I found 10. Let me tell you about their stories. But now, interestingly, in many countries, not just in one particular place, in Algeria, in Albania, in Syria, in Kurdistan, in Egypt, you have Muslims converting to Christianity. In fact, they're converting to Christianity in such numbers that there's even a name for them. They're called MBBs. Pastors call them MBBs, meaning Muslim background believers. Believers, Christian believers who come from a Muslim background. How many converts? No one knows exactly for sure. But from the Muslim side, you have had complaints. There was a complaint by a guy on Al Jazeera who said that by his count, 6 million Muslims are converting to Christianity each year. Think about that. That's a huge number. Traditionally, Muslims have gained forces by conquering. So they don't really convert people to Islam really by persuasion either. They use force. But as I say, very few people convert out. But now that's happening. Now, one of the most why is it happening? Well, one reason it's happening is that people are rebelling, Muslims are rebelling against radical Islam. One pastor in Egypt apparently said that the Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood president Mohammed Morsi, was, quote, the great evangelist. Why? Because the extremism of his policies told a lot of Muslims, wow, this guy's crazy. I don't want to be part of any religion that he's part of. So that's part of the reason for the conversion. But the fact that it's happening in so many different places shows that that's not the only reason. Now, interestingly, when you talk to Christian pastors, and I'm referring here to a very interesting article that quotes a number of these pastors, they claim that the reason that Muslims convert, or at least a substantial number of them convert, is that they have dreams and visions of Jesus Christ. Now, this is a little bit far out, but apparently an Iranian convert, this guy's fairly typical, he said, quote, many people are having dreams and visions about a shining man dressed in white telling them about Jesus. The leader of a Presbyterian church in Pakistan said that there were some Afghan imams who traveled hundreds of miles to study the Bible. And when he was asked, well, why are they doing that? He goes, quote, dreams. Christ appeared to them in their sleep. And then a Colorado pastor who conducts classes in Arabic via the radio and the internet, he goes, virtually all my students came following dreams. There's a missionary named Michael Stallwork, and he is a missionary in Frankfurt. And he said a veiled woman came up to him. He thought it was a beggar. He was about to give her money, but she goes, "Are you the imam?" And he said, "Well, I'm not an imam, but I am the pastor of this church." And she said, "Well, in that case, you are the right man. God has commanded me in a dream to go to the big church on the market square and ask for the imam," meaning the priest, "to tell me the truth." So I think what I find fascinating about all this is that these people who are having dreams, now Christ is a prophet in Islam. He's called Isa. But interestingly, in these dreams, these Muslims are getting the clear idea that it's not Isa, that it's in fact the Christian Christ that they need to be following, and following through the mechanism of the Christian Bible and the Christian church. It's a little bit hard to know what to make about this, but I think it's thrilling for us as Christians to see that Muslims, who are the hardest people in the world to convert, Islam hasn't really lost the force of its original revelation. I don't entirely know what to make about these strange visitations and dreams, but they seem to be real enough to the people who have them to suggest at least the possibility that God is doing some remarkable work in the world through Muslims, pointing them to Christianity.